Section 12 of the Endeavour Journal of Sir Joseph Banks, Journal from 25 August 1768 to 12 July 1771. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Gail Timmerman Vaughan. Section 12. May 1769, Part 1. 1769, May 1. This morn, in walking round the point, I saw a canoe which I supposed to have come from a distance, by her having a quantity of fresh water in her bamboos. In every other respect, she is quite like those we have seen. Her people, however, are absolute strangers to us. Before noon our friends visit us as usual, and the day passed without any events. 1769, May 2. About 10 this morning the astronomical quadrant, which had been brought ashore yesterday, was missed, a circumstance which alarmed us all very much. It had been laid in Captain Cook's berth, where no one slept. The telescopes were in my tent safe. Every place was searched aboard and ashore, but no such thing was to be found. It appeared very improbable that the Indians could have carried so large a thing out of the tents without being observed by the sentries. Our people might have stole it, as it was packed up in a deal case, and might by them have been supposed to contain nails or some kind of traffic. A large reward was therefore offered to anyone who could find it, and all hands sent out to search round the fort, upon a supposition that the Indians would immediately quit a prize that could be of so little use to them. In about an hour all returned. No news of the quadrant. I now went into the woods to get intelligence, no longer doubting but that it was in the hands of the Indians. Tuburai met me crossing the river, and immediately made with 3 straws in his hand the figure of a triangle. The Indians had opened the cases. No time was now to be lost. I made signs to him that he must instantly go with me to the place where it was. He agreed, and out we set, accompanied by a midshipman and Mr. Green. We went to the eastward. At every house we went past, Tuburai inquired after the thief by name. The people readily told him which way he had gone, and how long it was since he'd passed by, a circumstance which gave great hopes of coming up with him. The weather was excessive hot. The thermometer before we left the tents, up at 91, made our journey very tiresome. Sometimes we walked, sometimes we ran, when we imagined, as we did sometimes, that the chase was just before us, till we arrived at the top of a hill about 4 miles from the tents. From this place Tuburai showed us a point about 3 miles off, and made us understand that we were not to expect the instrument till we got there. We now considered our situation. No arms among us but a pair of pocket pistols, which I always carried. Going at least 7 miles from our fort, where the Indians might not be quite so submissive as at home. Going also to take from them a prize for which they had ventured their lives. All this considered, we thought it proper that while Mr. Green and myself proceeded, the midshipman should return and desire Captain Cook to send a party of men after us, telling him at the same time that it was impossible we should return till dark night. This done, we proceeded, and in the very spot Tuburai had mentioned, were met by one of his own people, bringing part of the quadrant in his hand. We now stopped, and many Indians gathered about us rather rudely. The sight of one of my pistols, however, instantly checked them, and they behaved with all the order imaginable, though we quickly had some hundreds surrounding a ring we had marked in the grass. The box was now brought to us, and some of the small matters, such as reading glasses, etc., which in their hurry they had put into a pistol case. This I knew belonged to me. It had been stole out of the tents with a horse pistol in it, which I immediately demanded, and had immediately restored. Mr. Green began to overlook the instrument to see if any part or parts were wanting. Several small things were, and people were sent out in search of them, some of which returned and others did not. The stand was not there, but that we were informed had been left behind by the thief, and we should have it in our return. An answer which, coming from Tuburai, satisfied us very well. Nothing else was wanting but what could easily be repaired, so we packed all up in grass as well as we could and proceeded homewards. After walking about 2 miles we met Captain Cook with a party of marines coming after us. All were, you may imagine, not a little pleased at the event of our excursion. The captain, on leaving the tents, left orders both for the ship and shore, which were that no canoes should be suffered to go out of the bay, but that nobody's person should be seized or detained, as we rightly guessed that none of our friends had any hand in the theft. These orders were obeyed by the first lieutenant, who was ashore, but the second aboard seeing some canoes going along shore, sent a boat to fetch them back. The boatswain commander did so, and with them brought Dutaha. The rest of their crews leapt overboard. He was sent ashore prisoner. The first lieutenant, of course, could not do less than confine him, which he did to the infinite dissatisfaction of all the Indians. This we heard from them 2 miles before we reached the tents on our return. Tuparai, Tomayo, and every Indian that we let in joined in lamenting over Dutaha with many tears. I arrived about a quarter of an hour before the captain, during which time this scene lasted. As soon as he came, he ordered him to be instantly set at liberty, which done, he walked off sulky enough, though at his departure he presented us with a pig. 1769, May 3. Dr. Solander and myself, who have all along acted in the capacity of market-men, attended this morn, but no kind of provisions were bought. Indeed, few Indians appeared except the servants of Dutaha, who very early took away his canoe. Soon after, Tubaya, Oberia's right-hand man, who was with her in the Dolphin's time, came and overhauled every part of her canoe, which had also been detained, seemed satisfied with what he saw, so much so that he would not take it away. About noon, several fishing boats came abreast the tents. They, however, parted with very few fish. In the course of the whole day, a small quantity of breadfruit was got, chiefly in a present, and 6 coconuts only were bought. A very disagreeable change this from our former situation. We have now no coconuts, and not 1/4 enough of breadfruit for the people, who have scarce ever before failed to turn away the latter from the market and purchase of the other from 300 to 400 a day. In the course of the day I went into the woods. The Indians were civil, but everywhere complained of the ill usage Dutaha had met with. They said that he had been beat and pulled by the hair. I endeavoured all I could to convince them that no violence had been offered to them, but without success. I fear the boatswain has been rougher in his usage of him than he chooses to acknowledge. Tupaya stayed with us all day, and at night slept in Oberia's canoe, not without a bedfellow, though the gentleman cannot be less than 45. 1769, May 4. This morn, no trade this morn, but a little fish, so we are for the first time in distress for necessaries. I went into the woods to Tuparai, and persuaded him to give me 5 long baskets of breadfruit, a very seasonable supply, as they contain above 120 fruits. A very few Indians appear today before the fort, fewer than yesterday. After dinner came a messenger from Dutaha requesting a shirt and a hatchet. He had been here yesterday with the same demand, I suppose in return for the hog he gave us on his release. The captain sent him back, telling him that he would tomorrow visit him and bring the things himself. In the evening I went into the woods, found the Indians as usual civil, but complaining much of the treatment Dutaha had met with on the 2nd. 1769, May 5. This morning Obadi, Her Majesty's bedfellow, came pretty early to visit us, or rather himself, to take a view of her canoe. He carefully overhauled everything in it, and complained of the loss of some trifling thing, I could not understand what. After this he brought everything out of it, and delivered them into my charge, desiring they might be taken care of, after which he left us. A very small quantity of breadfruit brought this morn. At breakfast time came 2 messengers from Dutaha to put the captain in mind of his promising of visiting him. Accordingly, at 9, the boat set out, carrying the captain, Dr. Solander, and myself. We arrived in about an hour, Epare, his residence being about 4 miles from the tents. An immense throng of people met us on the shore, crowding us very much, though they were severely beat for doing so by a tall, well-looking man, who laced about him with a long stick most unmercifully, striking all who did not get out of his way without intermission till he had cleared us a path sufficient to go to Dutaha, who was seated under a tree attended by a few grave-looking old men. With him we sat down, and made our presents, consisting of an axe and a gown of broadcloth made after their fashion and trimmed with tape. With these he seemed mightily satisfied. Soon after this Oberea joined us, and with her I retired to a house adjacent, where I could be free from the suffocating heat occasioned by so large a crowd of people as were gathered about us. Here was prepared for our diversion and entertainment, quite new to us, a wrestling match, at which the other gentlemen soon joined us. A large courtyard railed round with bamboo about 3 feet high was the scene of this diversion. At one end of this Dutaha was seated, and near him was left seats for us, but we rather chose to range at large among the spectators than confine ourselves to any particular spot. The diversion began by the combatants, some of them at least, walking round the yard with a slow and grave pace, every now and then striking their left arms very hard, by which they caused a deep and very loud noise, which it seems was a challenge to each other or any one of the company who chose to engage in the exercise. Within the house stood the old men, ready to give applause to the victor, and some few women who seemed to be here out of compliment to us, as much the larger number absented themselves upon the occasion. The general challenge was given, as I before said. The particular one soon followed it, by which any man singled out his antagonist. It was done by joining the finger ends of both hands, even with the breast, and then moving the elbows up and down. If this was accepted, the challenged immediately returned the signal, and instantly both put themselves in an attitude to engage, which they very soon did, striving to seize each other by the hands, hair, or the cloth they had round their middles, for they had no other dress. This done, they attempted to seize each other by the thigh, which commonly decided the contest in the fall of him who was thus taken at disadvantage. If this was not soon done, they always parted either by consent or their friends interfered in less than a minute, in which case both began to clap their arms and seek anew for an antagonist, either in each other or someone else. When anyone fell, the whole amusement ceased for a few moments, in which time the old men in the house gave their applause in a few words, which they repeated together in a kind of tune. This lasted about 2 hours, all which time the man who we observed at our first landing continued to beat the people, who did not keep at proper distance, most unmercifully. We understood that he was some officer belonging to Tahiti, and was called Tom T. The wrestling over, the gentlemen informed me that they understood that 2 hogs, and a large quantity of breadfruit, etc., was cooking for our dinners, news which pleased me very well, as my stomach was by this time sufficiently prepared for the repast. I went out and saw the ovens in which they were now buried. These the Indians readily showed me, telling me at the same time that they would soon be ready, and how good a dinner we should have. In about half an hour all was taken up, but now Tahiti began to repent of his intended generosity. He thought, I suppose, that a hog would be looked upon as no more than a dinner, and consequently no present made in return. He therefore changed his mind, and ordering one of the pigs into the boat, sent for us, who soon collected together, and getting our knives prepared to fall to, saying that it was civil of the old gentleman to bring the provisions into the boat, where we could with ease keep the people at a proper distance, who in the house would have crowded us almost to death. His intention was, however, very different from ours, for instead of asking us to eat, he asked to go on board of the ship, a measure we were forced to comply with, and row 4 miles with the pig growing cold under our noses, before he would give it to us. Aboard, however, we dined upon this same pig, and His Majesty ate very heartily with us. After dinner we went ashore. The sight of Tahiti, reconciled to us, acted like a charm upon the people, and before night breadfruit and coconuts were brought to sell in tolerable plenty. 1769, May 6. Plenty of breadfruit at market this morn, but few coconuts. After dinner Tahiti visited the tents, bringing 5 baskets of breadfruit and some coconuts. He went to the eastward and slept tonight at a longhouse. Trade rather slack this morn, but we have so much breadfruit beforehand from the trade and presents of yesterday, that it is immaterial whether we buy any or not today. 1769, May 7. After dinner Tahiti came in a double canoe. After him came another, bringing 4 hogs, and one of these he ordered out of the boat, with some breadfruit. I undertook to coax him out of the rest, but had not the success I could have wished. He would part with only 1 more, and for that the captain and myself were obliged to go aboard with him and give him a broadaxe. 1769, May 8. Messrs. Molyneux and Green went to the eastward today in the pinnace, intending to purchase hogs. They went 20 miles, saw many hogs and 1 turtle, but the people would part with neither one nor the other. They belonged, they said, to Tahiti, and without his leave they could not sell them. We now began to think that Tahiti is indeed a great king, much greater than we have been used to imagine him. Indeed, his influence upon the late occasion, as well as today, has proved to be so great that we can hardly doubt it. Mr. Green measured today a tree which he saw. It proved to be 60 yards in circumference. He brought home some boughs of it, but they were thrown overboard before I could see them, so the species of this monstrous tree remains a doubt with us. This morn I fixed my little boat before the door of the fort. It serves very well for a place to trade in. Trade is not now as it had been. Formerly we used to buy enough for all hands between sunrise and 8 o'clock. Now attendance must be given all day, or little can be done. 1769 May 9. Coconuts have been for some days rather scarce. We are therefore obliged for the first time to bring out our nails. Last night our smallest size, about 4 inches long, was offered for 20 coconuts. Accordingly this morning several came with that number, so that we had plenty of them. Smaller lots, as well as breadfruit, sold, as usual, for beads. Soon after breakfast came Oberea, Obadi, and Tupaya, bringing a hog and some breadfruit. They stayed with us till night, then took away their canoe and promised to return in 3 days. We had today 350 coconuts, and more breadfruit than we would buy, so that we approached our former plenty. 1769 May 10. This morn Captain Cook planted diverse seeds, which he had brought with him in a spot of ground turned up for the purpose. They were all bought of Gordon at Mile End, and sent in bottles sealed up. Whether or no that method will succeed, the event of this plantation will show. Plenty of breadfruit and coconuts again today. Towards evening, Tuburai and Tumayo returned from the west, and seemed extremely glad to see all of us. We have now got the Indian name of the island, Tahiti, so therefore for the future I shall call it that. As for our names, the Indians find so much difficulty in pronouncing them, that we are forced to indulge them in calling us what they please, or rather what they say, when they attempt to pronounce them. I give here the list. Captain Cook, Tuta. Dr. Solander, Torano. Mr. Hicks, Hete. Mr. Gore, Toaharo. Mr. Molino, Boba, from his Christian name Robert. Mr. Monkhouse, Mato. And myself, Tapane. In this manner they have names for almost every man in the ship. 1769 May 11. Coconuts were brought down so plentifully this morn that by 6:30 I had bought 350. This made it necessary to drop the price of them, lest, so many being brought at once, we should exhaust the country, and want hereafter. Notwithstanding I had before night bought more than 1,000, at the rates of 6 for an amber-coloured bead, 10 for a white one, and 20 for a 4-penny nail. 1769 May 12. Coconuts very plentiful this morning. About breakfast time Dutaha visits us. Immediately after, while I sat trading in the boat at the door of the fort, a double canoe came with several women and 1 man under the awning. The Indians round me made signs that I should go out and meet them. By the time I had got out of the boat, they were within 10 yards of me. The people made a lane from them to me. They stopped and made signs for me to do the same. The man in company with them had in his hands a large bunch of boughs. He advanced towards me bringing 2, one a younger plantain, the other blank. Tupaya, who stood by me, acted as my deputy in receiving them, and laying them down in the boat. 6 times he passed backwards and forwards in the same manner, and bringing the same present. Another man then came forward, having in his arms a large bundle of cloth. This he opened out and spread it piece by piece on the ground, between the women and me. It consisted on 9 pieces. 3 were first laid. The foremost of the women, who seemed to be the principal, then stepped upon them, and quickly unveiling all her charms, gave me a most convenient opportunity of admiring them by turning herself gradually round. 3 pieces more were laid, and she repeated her part of the ceremony. The other 3 were then laid, which made a treble covering of the ground between her and me. She then once more displayed her naked beauties, and immediately marched up to me, a man following her, and doubling up the cloth as he came forwards, which she immediately made me understand was intended as a present for me. I took her by the hand and led her to the tents, accompanied by another woman, her friend. To both of them I made presents, but could not prevail upon them to stay more than an hour. In the evening Oberea and her favourite attendant, Otheothea, paid us a visit, much to my satisfaction, as the latter, my flame, has for some days been reported either ill or dead. End of section 12, part 1 of May, 1769.